Jonathan Gullis, JG, good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you doing?
Oh, well, that's a background and a half. What's that? You look like you're in space or something. What's that all about?
I'm hiding the mess that I've got to tidy up after this call.
Congratulations, since we last spoke, you're married. That's it. It's all over now, son.
Well, yes, I'm glad that there's a woman out there who was crazy enough to marry me, and now I'm being a good houseman, doing the ironing, doing the washing, picking up the kids from the school on the school run, trying to behave myself as much as I can.
So you've lost them already. You've only been married 3 weeks and you've lost whatever you had down below. Listen, tremendous to have you on, JG. Can I, before we talk about the new look Tories, can I just touch upon, obviously, what's happening stateside? Voting in key states begins. Trump and Harris neck and neck in the polls. Many people in this country, 18% apparently, only want Donald Trump. Kamala Harris, I thought Ian Collins made a really salient point. The Biden administration allowed 8 million migrants into America in the last 4 years. If you ask middle America, they would say that in terms of the economic side of it, they were far better off under Donald Trump. But he is, of course, a person who doesn't play by the rules, who says some pretty outrageous things. In your gut, JG, how does it go tonight stateside?
Well, it's quite difficult, Jeremy, as you say, because what's hard to tell is, number one, there seems to be a huge turnout of females, particularly 18 to 29-year-olds, and they'll be voting because in a lot of these battleground states, the issue of abortion is also on the ballot paper, as well as obviously the Republican Party having been seen to be tied to it, despite Donald Trump actually having a very different view to the majority of his party on this particular issue. But Donald Trump is also hoovering up a lot of votes that he never had before from young men, particularly men from ethnic minority backgrounds. And so it really will come down. The early voting is the key thing for me so far. And the early voting so far shows that the Democrats do not have the same lead that they had going into polling day as they did in 2020. But because the polls are hard to show and it does feel like momentum has shifted, I do think that there is a likelihood Kamala Harris will end up being elected in the early hours of tomorrow morning. But like you, I think for the United Kingdom, it's in our interest that Donald Trump is elected as someone who I think would be much more friendly and open to having talks about trade deals, as well as obviously I think being someone who's able to influence, as you say, NATO, where he did secure more funding for more members. We pay our fair share, but others don't. And of course, will help bring about, I think, a lot more world order. I think the fact he is slightly unpredictable is actually a good thing when you're facing dictators who think they can throw their weight around and don't see any repercussions on their actions.
Well, if you bring it back to what I said, a lot of middle Americans will tell you that they were far better off under Donald Trump. If we put aside the rhetoric for a second, the ridiculous rhetoric on both sides, they were better economically. There was not the migration problem, and America did not go to war. I would, look, anybody, Donald Trump's not going to listen to anybody, but for me, he could have won this election if he talked about immigration, if he talked about the economy, and he talked about an opponent who was part of a massive, massive cover-up. I mean, it can be it's not a lie to say that cognitively Joe Biden should not have been the leader of the free world probably for the last 12 to 18 months. And I suspect that everybody in his administration knew that. But listen, it'll be really interesting to see. You're dead right about those young female votes. I just spoke to my 21-year-old daughter at Edinburgh University. She thinks he's abhorrent, the view of abortion, and I completely get that. I spoke to somebody else out there in the office who says that, well, look at this, Brad in Cambridge. If Trump wins tomorrow, I won't be celebrating. I'll be celebrating that ridiculous Harris losing. She will be a nightmare. David in Swindon, straight away, if Trump does not win, watch this woke stuff get out of hand. The Labour Party, rich people telling poor people how the rich are ripping poor people off. Very interesting. Let's move from America. We'll just sit and we'll watch it. We've got that great for people tuning in. Overnight, Mike Graham will be here between 1 and 4, a special overnight American election special. It'll be fantastic. Do not miss that.